if you will, being so absolutely radioactive that even the people paid to hand you a cup of Earl Grey decide they would rather go on strike than stay in the same zip code as you. We are not talking about a controversial politician or a disgraced reality star. We are talking about a man who was, until very recently, a prince of the United Kingdom. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has officially reached a level of social pariahdom that is frankly impressive. This week, he was bundled out of his 30-room Windsor mansion under the cover of darkness like a piece of faulty furniture, only to arrive in Norfolk and find that the staff have collectively swiped left on him. The King's own employees have been given a get-out-of-jail-free card, told they do not have to work for the man if it makes their skin crawl. And guess what? The list of people saying no thank you is growing faster than the legal documents at the Department of Justice. We are witnessing the absolute, unadulterated collapse of a royal life. And for the first time in 65 years, Andrew might actually have to learn how a doorknob works. Quick favor. If you are loving this unredacted look into the crumbling walls of the House of Windsor, hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell. Over 92% of our viewers haven't joined the fold yet. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thank you ever so much if you did. Now, back to the show. The timeline of Andrew's week reads like a script from a very depressing heist movie. On Monday night, February 2nd, 2026, the man formerly known as the Duke of York was effectively evicted. There was no fanfare, no royal salute, just a removals van spotted at the gates of Royal Lodge and a midnight run to Norfolk. This wasn't a relocation, it was a retreat. He has been moved into Wood Farm Cottage, a modest retreat on the Sandringham estate, while work continues on his permanent and significantly less grand home, Marsh Farm. This is not just a change of address, it is a total demotion. Imagine moving from a 30-room palace in Windsor, a place where the hallways are longer than most people's commutes, to a fixer-upper in Norfolk because your brother, the landlord, is tired of your shady friend problem. The king is no longer asking. He is disposing. The tenancy at Royal Lodge didn't end with a handshake. It ended with a deadline and a set of keys turned in under the veil of night. It is the ultimate downgrade in the royal real estate market. But the real kicker, the absolute cherry on this cake of humiliation, is the staff revolt. According to insiders at the King's Norfolk estate, royal servants have been granted permission by the palace to refuse any interaction with Andrew. This is unprecedented. Usually, the royal household operates on a service with a smile, regardless of the scandal basis. Not anymore. If they feel uncomfortable or uneasy, they can simply opt out. One source noted that there is already a long list of staff who have declined to serve him. It is a humiliating new reality for a man who spent decades having every whim catered to by a small army of attendants. Now, he is reportedly down to a skeleton crew, just a valet, a butler, and a chef. The word on the street is that once he moves into Marsh Farm permanently, in April, he will have to find and fund his own staff. For a man who has lived on the public purse his entire life, the idea of paying his own cleaners must be as alien as the concept of accountability.
So, Danica, for me, it's not new. My sources in DC told me ahead, and when I exposed, first of all, Sarah Ferguson emails that she lied to the public, that she cut any connection with Epstein, and then apologized to him that she needed to lie to the public to maintain her brand with children books and children charities. I mean, saying it to a pedophile, it was just astonishing. So when I exposed that, and then I exposed a few weeks later the email that the former prince lied to the public, to Newsnight, at the Buckingham Palace, of all places, that he got any contacts with Jeffrey Epstein after the visit in New York 2010. I am very close to the royal family. I got personal calls. How many emails are more coming? And I also said it on television when I made several appearances. I said there is very, very big traffic between Andrew, Sarah, and Epstein, and there are more than 100 emails. So there's no surprise for me, and there's no surprise for King Charles. And
So, why the sudden revolt? Well, it might have something to do with the release of over 3 million documents by the U.S. Department of Justice on January 30th, 2026. These files have done more than just reopen the Epstein scandal. They've poured high-octane fuel on the fire and handed out matches to everyone in the room. Among the sordid revelations are undated photographs that reportedly show Andrew on all fours over an unidentified woman. It is an image that, once described, cannot be unseen, and it has absolutely incinerated what was left of his public standing. Then we have the emails. There are messages where he allegedly invites Epstein to Buckingham Palace for private dinners and even offers investment opportunities in Afghanistan after the financier's first conviction in 2008. This is the smoking gun that contradicts his earlier claims that he cut contact with Epstein immediately after the conviction. It turns out the breakup was about as real as a Hollywood romance. The most damning piece of evidence, however, might be the email from Ghislaine Maxwell to Epstein in 2015, which appears to confirm the authenticity of the infamous photo with Virginia Giuffre. Andrew has long claimed that photo was doctored. Perhaps the hand wasn't his, or the background was added, essentially suggesting a level of Photoshop mastery that simply didn't exist in the early 2000s. But the email, titled Draft Statement, says, "In 2001, I was in London when Redacted met a number of friends of mine, including Prince Andrew. A photograph was taken. It is the masterclass in gaslighting finally meeting its match. It's one thing to deny a photo to a journalist. It's another to have the orchestrator of the scene confirm it in a private digital trail. Furthermore, Thames Valley Police have confirmed they are assessing information regarding a new allegation that a woman was trafficked to Windsor in 2010 specifically for a sexual encounter with the former prince."
These sort of first reported in The Sun, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has now relocated from Royal Lodge near Windsor Castle and has moved to a property on the Sandringham estate, as you said, belonging to His Majesty the King. Now, this isn't going to be his permanent home, but this is basically a pit stop, as it were, before he moves into the widely reported Marsh Farm, although, of course, Buckingham Palace is not confirming that. It's undergoing extensive renovations at the moment. So I understand this isn't due specifically, or at least Buckingham Palace is not being drawn on the fact that, of course, the Epstein files, or more Epstein files, have been released in the last couple of days. But nonetheless, the timing is perhaps pretty significant. So, of course, we knew Buckingham Palace announced in October 2025 that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor would be moving out of Royal Lodge. He would forfeit that lease where he was paying peppercorn rent on, and he had been for the last couple of decades, to move to a property solely funded by King Charles. So it would not be funded by taxpayers whatsoever. Of course, Royal Lodge is a
King Charles III, who will celebrate his younger brother's 66th birthday on February 19th, with likely nothing more than a polite nod and perhaps a fruitcake he found at the back of the pantry, has finally reached his limit. The decision to boot Andrew out under the cover of darkness was not just about logistics, it was about optics. The king is a man obsessed with the longevity of the crown, and the barrage of new Epstein revelations made Andrew's continued presence at Royal Lodge untenable. The king is essentially cleaning the stables before the stench of the past obliterates the monarchy's good work. Prince William is reportedly in a state of apoplexy over the situation. For William, this isn't just about a troublesome uncle. It's about the future he will one day inherit. Every day Andrew remains in the headlines, the institution's credibility takes another hit. William is reportedly the driving force behind the zero-tolerance policy. He wants the Andrew problem solved, archived, and buried under 6 feet of Norfolk soil. The story of the pest control at Marsh Farm has become a bizarre, almost poetic symbol of Andrew's new reality. Because of the estate's long-standing no cats policy, originally designed to stop domestic felines from snacking on the game birds for the king's shoot, the rodent population has flourished. Pest control vans were spotted at the property throughout January, dealing with what workers described as a significant infestation. Observers have noted the heavy-handed irony. As the removals van takes Andrew away from the grandeur of Royal Lodge, he is moving into a house that literally needs to be cleared of rats before he can sleep there. It's a metaphor that writes itself. He's being moved into a property with 6-foot wooden fences and a brand new CCTV system, which makes it feel less like a farm and more like a high-security holding pen.
I think the monarchy is really finding it uncomfortable. I think for the king today, who was out in public doing his engagements, was asked questions about his brother, something that would never have happened in the reign of his mother, Elizabeth II. So it is very difficult for the king and other members of his family who are still part of the business of royalty doing their bit to support the role of the head of state. But Andrew, their brother, is obviously at the center of this issue. He has claimed that he has absolutely no connection with wrongdoing, as you were pointing out, and he has now been taken from all the splendor of living in his house in Windsor and been taken to the east coast of England. You almost can't get any further away, and there he will start a new life with no titles, no honors, no glory, but he does remain part of a family. And I think anybody who is in a family where someone has had a bit of difficulty will understand that for the king, it is very difficult to have somebody in his own family when he has such an important role on the world stage to perform.
Certainly. Well, and
Andrew is now facing a level of isolation that is almost total. His remaining staff are reportedly shell-shocked. Imagine being the valet who has to tell a man who once commanded an aircraft carrier that his laundry is ready, all while knowing the contents of 3 million pages of DOJ documents. The tension in Wood Farm must be thick enough to cut with a butter knife. Andrew is reportedly in shock at the speed of his downfall, but the reality is that the public and the palace have been waiting for this shoe to drop for years. The move to Marsh Farm represents more than just a change of scenery. It is the physical erasure of Andrew from the royal fold. He is no longer a resident of Windsor. He is a tenant in Norfolk. He is no longer a prince with a platform. He is a private citizen with a past. And as the staff resignations continue to pile up, he is finding out that even money and a royal name can't buy loyalty when your reputation is in the gutter. Why does this matter? because the British monarchy is one of the world's most powerful brands. When a key member of that brand is linked to the most notorious sex trafficking scandal of the century, the damage isn't just local, it's global. From the Canadian geopolitical niche to the Australian outback, people are watching to see if the House of Windsor can actually hold its own accountable. The staff revolt is a signal that even the governing class has reached its breaking point. The refusal of staff to serve him is a grassroots rebellion. It shows that morality has finally trumped protocol. It is the first time in modern history that royal servants have said, "No, my conscience won't allow it." That is a massive shift in the power dynamic of the British state. It shows that even in the most traditional of institutions, the truth eventually wins. We are witnessing the final painful stages of a royal dismantling. From the midnight eviction at Royal Lodge to the staff revolt at Sandringham, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is experiencing a fall from grace that is as total as it is public. He is a man with no servants, no status, and now apparently no one to wave back at him from the road. The House of Windsor is moving on, and it is leaving Andrew behind in a farm cottage surrounded by security fences and memories of a life he has effectively thrown away. The Epstein scandal is the gift that keeps on giving, if you're a journalist, and the nightmare that never ends if you're a royal. As the final bits of work are completed on Marsh Farm, Andrew sits in Wood Farm, a temporary resident in a temporary life. The monarchy is being obliterated by his association, but the institution is fighting back, and its chosen weapon is the cold, hard silence of exile. The Prince of Darkness has finally been sent into the shadows, and it doesn't look like he's coming back. Thank you all so much for watching. Good day.